Hi everyone. Today I'll be talking about The Great Escape, Season 3, Episodes 3 and 4. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode because it returned to its roots and started connecting to the Great Escape universe once again. The introduction for episode 3 was a bit longer than usual, but I think they had some good banter in there, so I didn't really mind. It was funny that only P.O. and Hodong knew who Martin Scorsese was, and like Jongmin and I think Donghyun were also, or was it Shingdong? They were there and they had like no idea who he was. I thought it was interesting that they were teasing Byungjae for being called Yununim because that's a nickname for Yoo Jae-suk, and actually it's like a combination of his last name and also Byungjae's last name plus Hanunim, which means God. So Byungjae got a very good nickname, but he's trying to like play it down. It's like, no, don't call me that. When they were on the bus heading to the location, poor Pio, like he's never recognized for his contributions. And I know that he's usually not the one to have big moments, but he always does contribute in small ways. So I'm still rooting for you, Pio, and I'm waiting for the day where your contributions will be recognized. When they were exploring the office in episode 3, first of all, I thought the writers did a good job with the English on the contract. I didn't take a deep look at it, but it seemed to make sense to me. And I thought it was kind of funny that Donghyun thought that, what was it, that a client actually meant CEO. I don't know if you guys caught it, but Byungjae referenced Breaking Bad at one point. I was pretty surprised when I heard that, but then again, he did work as a writer before, so I think he's more exposed to American TV shows than the other cast members. They were so happy when they found the food, and I was kind of happy for them as well. I'm glad that there's a sponsorship opportunity now for this season. And I think it's been quite a long time since we've actually seen them eating food and like finding food on the set. They were pretty spot on with their predictions this time. Donghyun thought at the very beginning that Hodong might have got the necklace because he was previously a zombie before, and that did turn out to be the case. And also, Hodong had a hunch that the washroom could drop, and that was also the case as well. And speaking of the washroom, I like that it probably wasn't a direct throwback, but it reminded me of the very first episode or the very first story where they had like the desk that dropped. So I like that they brought back a similar mechanic this time. I really loved the entire maze because I thought it was a really, really good and well executed puzzle. There were also some really scary moments in there, like when the zombies came out when Jomin was trying to get the key, and also for the whole moment when, like, for the last key, when the zombies woke up and then were chasing after them, and Shingdong pushed Hodong aside accidentally. When Pio opened the cabinet and then I guess you could call him a patient, came out, it was a really scary moment, but it made me laugh so hard because of the way everybody reacted and also because of the editing. It was just really funny the way, like when you first saw it. But I know if I was in that situation, it would be so, so scary. Overall, I think the theme of this episode is all about timing. They had a lot of interaction with like the NPCs or the soldiers slash the owner. And they also had to deal with timing in terms of solving the puzzles and getting out of the maze with the zombies. So I think they did a really good job of balancing that and making it through making it with the correct timing. I was really impressed with the storytelling in this episode because the writers actually used storytelling as a device to get the cast to the next location. For example, getting the soldiers to come in and then drag them to the factory. So I think that worked out really well, and I was also really impressed that they're continuing with the Great Escape universe, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and especially I like that in this episode they connected two stories together. So they connected the zombie arc, but also connected to Mugan Prison, which was kind of like off on its own before, but they managed to connect it through the twins. The only thing I would say is that so far the connections seem to be made through family members. So like they would introduce an NPC and then they would add another family member for that NPC. So I'd like to see a different way of connecting it. I'm not exactly sure how that would work right now, but I'm sure the writers could do something more with that. I also really appreciated the work the visual team or the editors did in showing us like a graphical representation of the map and where they were, because I think that was really helpful in making me understand like where they were in the maze and where the keys were. I noticed that the hospital gown the first cured patient was wearing was the same design as the one they wore when they had the hospital episode in season 2. And I'm wondering if that's more of a hint or just a coincidence, like that was the only hospital gown they had, so they just gave him that to wear? Or is that kind of hinting to us that he might be coming back perhaps in a later episode or a later season? But although at the same time, I think from what I remember, when they escape with a guest or a third person, so far that person that they've escaped with hasn't come back or featured in a later episode. So I guess we'll have to see on that. One piece of editing I was really impressed with this episode, again, it's more for the storytelling, was when Xingdong pressed the button for the light switch and then he screamed, I think he like, go die or something like that. And then we saw a rewind to like how they planned this out. And I thought that rewind moment, that type of editing, was very reminiscent of The Genius. So I was really happy to see that. And I think it works really well for storytelling. First, before I talk about this, I want to say that this is going to be a spoiler warning for Kingdom Season 2, as well as these episodes of The Great Escape. So if you haven't watched both of them and you don't want to get spoiled, skip to the next section. I felt that this episode had a similar concept to Kingdom, where you're kind of using or making the zombies for profit. And in The Great Escape, they were using, like, making zombies to sell, to earn money, while in Kingdom, they were trying to make zombies and trying to harness that power to use them against other army forces for battle. On YouTube, I came across this Korean YouTuber who also makes a lot of content specifically for The Great Escape. And one of their videos was about them actually visiting the zombie factory location because I think they saw that someone on some forum posted the location, so they were able to go. If you're interested in seeing kind of a behind the scenes look of what the set looked like originally, or I guess like after filming, after they were done, I would recommend looking at that video. I think it also gives a unique perspective, just like they show us in episode 13, of how they actually set up the set or how they're able to transform the set into what we see on the episode. The Korean words I learned through this episode mostly came from episode 3 rather than episode 4. I think because I was more immersed in episode 4, so rather than paying attention to the subtitles, I was mostly watching for the story. The first word is 자발적, which means self-isolation. The second word was 저고리, which refers to a type of traditional clothing, and they put a little emoji there to show what it looks like. And actually, Hodong was, I think, maybe the only one who knew of that. He was the one saying that it looked like that, but I remember the other members were a bit confused and they didn't know what that word was either. The next word is 복도, for hallway. And finally, the last word from episode 4 is 네모, and it means square. Thanks for watching my video. What did you think about these episodes? Did you have a moment that you really liked and want to share? Let me know in the comments. Again, thanks for watching and see you again soon. Bye!